this week in week 17 is the Dallas Cowboys. So to get things rolling tonight, we're going to talk about the 5 keys to the defense of the Detroit Lions. And first and foremost, I wrote this one down, and I don't think I've ever written this one down before. And my key is they can't play scared. Now, I'm not saying that the guys are scared per se. It's just that a lot is going into this game. A lot's riding on this game. The Lions can march in and help to secure that 2 seed by notching one more win on the season. But the issue is the Cowboys and what they've done since September 11th of 2022 is that these Dallas Cowboys have gone unbeaten at home. And they've been led by Dak Prescott this entire time. They've won 15 straight home games at AT&T Stadium, including all 7 this season. Prescott has played very well in his home-friendly environment in home stadium. He's thrown for over 2,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, and only 2 interceptions inside AT&T Stadium. And that's pretty intimidating. And that's why I'm saying that these guys just can't play scared. They've got to go in and do their job. The Lions have to set their sights on snapping this streak. Aiden Hutchinson was speaking to the media the other day, and he had this to say about it. Everybody knows the stat with Dallas at home, but that gets me fired up because you want to be the one to take them down. You want to be the one to end their home streak and stuff like that. They've got a lot of great players. Dak's been playing great ball. We'll be better. And I love the ending to that. I mean, he's saying that, we will be better. And I mean, that's just calling it out, right? I mean, Hutch is just saying it's it. It's over. It's done. We're coming to end it. And we're going to be better. Now, this is a defensive key video, but I at least wanted to mention a few things about the team in general, which also includes the offense. And that's that this team is totally different from the last time these two matched up. And since that last meeting, the Lions decided to go out and target a prize pick in David Montgomery to help reshape the running back room. And to make matters worse for the Cowboys, they also added Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round. And then they went out and did one more thing, and that was adding who is now the league leading tight end, Sam Laporta. They also had more firepower last season. They really never saw the field and wasn't available for the Dallas game in Jamison Williams, who is now healthy and who has been more active within the offense over the last few weeks. The Lions offensive line is finally healthy. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is doing Amon-Ra St. Brown things, being one of the top leaders in the NFL as a wide receiver. But then it got a little bit deeper. The Lions brought in Cam Sutton as a top free agent target to help round out the backfield on the defense. And then they added Jack Campbell in the first round, 18th overall at linebacker, and Brian Branch in the second round to really strengthen this defensive backfield for the Detroit Lions. And now you see the fruits of that labor, and where this team has made leaps and bounds this season has been primarily through and with all of the rookies that have been added to this team. Which brings me to number 2. The second defensive key that I want to talk about is taking advantage of what we do well on defense. And I believe that the biggest key to this is AG making some changes on the defensive side of the ball over the last few weeks, which has allowed the emergence of Ifeatu Melifonwu and Kirby Joseph, who are playing lights out and helping to return the turnover margin back to a positive level, which we're still not there yet, but we're getting there. This has revitalized the Lions defense in the recent weeks and allowed guys to find their mojo again. Confidence is so important in this game, and the Lions are finally playing confidently. The minute AG gets stubborn and doesn't allow these guys to play free and fast and loose, they will shut down and their deficiencies will be on display. Every team has weaknesses, and the Lions have too many to be exposed. Covering the deficiencies with more DBs on the field and faster guys flying around to the football and then sending in a blitz from a different zone on every other play is how you beat the Cowboys, and it's also how the Lions disguise their weaknesses. The Lions need to continue doing what they do well. And in this game, that has to be rattling Dak Prescott. And then he shuts down. Which brings me to my next key, in key number 3. Key number 3 is for the Lions to focus on the run, limit the big pass and the explosive plays, and finally get some pressure on Dak. Thankfully, the Lions front 5 have been doing pretty well in the run game, but last season, Pollard destroyed the Lions on the ground. Maybe he didn't go for a ton of yards, but the yards that he did get and the first downs that he did grab all at the wrong times was not good. And for a moment there, Hutchinson seemed to get out of focus, right? He was getting out of his alignment, out of his details, and that allowed Pollard to gash his edge or his gap multiple times. That cannot happen again. Hutchinson needs to play a very disciplined football game this week. I would much rather see Aiden stay home and protect his zone and his gaps than rushing the passer and getting out of his details and leaving huge holes for Dak and Pollard to have big gains. The way the Lions can limit this is to install more guys in the box. When you install the 4-2-5 or the 3-2-6 and play to stop the run, but also protect the pass, you start to limit the intermediate and the shorter passes for any QB, and then you force them into longer throws. And I know what you're saying, but we struggle with the long pass. We seem to only give up long passes. And I would say you're right. But what I'm banking on here is that the Lions are going to be able to limit the long pass too. I'm not saying that they're going to march in and totally shut down the Dallas Cowboys. It's just not going to happen. But what I'm hoping is going to happen is that the Lions are going to be able to get enough natural pressure on Dak to force him into making some longer passes that are going to turn into interceptions. And that's just, I guess, my hope for the weekend. And based on what I've seen and what I watched today and yesterday in tape, this to me looks like the best opportunity for the Lions to have success this weekend. Target number 1 is CeeDee Lamb. And I would like to see the Lions put Cam Sutton in a traveling role with CeeDee Lamb this Saturday night, and then bring in either a single high safety to trail over the top or come down closer to the line. And in certain situations, almost like a gunner would come down. But we'll come back to this. It's not exactly a gunner, but I really don't know what else to call it at this point because honestly, I've never seen it, at least that I can remember. But I watched the Bills do it and I loved it. Target number 2 is Jake Ferguson. Look, this guy doesn't get talked about enough, but he is a pretty damn good tight end. The problem for Jake Ferguson is I don't feel that Brian Branch is going to have any issues. I think that Fergie may get a couple receptions, but Branch will drop him where he is and where he catches the pass. Branch has one of the best grades against the Yak. So I feel like this is a great matchup. If, Brian Branch ends up taking Jake Ferguson most of the game, I'm not worried. Now, if Jake Ferguson has to line up against one of our linebackers, then I feel like we're going to have a few problems. Target number 3 is Brandon Cooks. In my opinion, I think that Vildor and or Branch will be matched up with Brandon Cooks throughout most of this game. And again, this is assuming that Cam Sutton is going to travel. I do like this matchup. It's not the same, guy with speed that he used to be. And believe it or not, Vildor actually has pretty good speed to his game. So I'm good with this matchup. I think it's going to be, a fun matchup to watch. I don't think that Cooks is going to cook. I think that he's, going to get played pretty tightly, and Vildor's going to do a nice job. Vildor's aggressive. He's aggressive at the point of attack. He likes to go up and fight for those 50-50 balls. I mean, he thinks that he's a receiver out there. So I like Vildor's opportunity in this game. Matter of fact, he might even be my dark horse to end up with an interception this weekend. Target number 4 is the Cowboys also have Michael Gallup still. So he can be a guy that we do need to worry about at times. And you're probably, again, like you got to be out of your mind, Will. But listen, if we start to lock up some of these other guys and they can't do anything, and if Michael Gallup has, a matchup that is beneficial to him, he possesses the ability to be a game changer. I know that he really hasn't been in many seasons, but he has that ability. If you allow him in space, he can be tough to shut down. So he's going to be in, most of those 11 personnel packages. Other than that, he's going to be off the field for most of the game. Lastly, like I said, we got to pressure Dak, and we've got to do it naturally, not forcefully. And what I mean by that is, one, I hope that, we see the Lions using the linebacker blitz or the DB blitz more in this game in certain situations. If the front 3 or the front 4 can maintain the ground attack by the Cowboys, then the Lions can free up a rusher and get after Dak as needed. I'm not afraid of Dak's legs as a dual threat, but I am worried that if he must scramble, and the center of this defense is left wide open like it has been the entire season, then he's going to gash us all day for 10 plus yard, chunk plays in first downs. But back to what I was saying is we need to get pressure on him naturally. And what I mean by that is let's not forcefully try to get pressure where we're sending everybody or, the front four all the time. Let's stop the run first. If you blitz heavy up front and they figure you out in the run game, they're going to run right past you. And that just doesn't bode well for the Lions. I feel like we've had really good success sending in a DB, sending in a linebacker, and we haven't done it enough. We've had, a few games in a row now where we've seen it more. But this is a game where I feel like we have to do it even more than that to have a much better opportunity at, dropping Dak for some major losses. AG, he really has to go all out in this game because a loss almost ensures that the Lions are stuck at the 3 seed. So it's a great seed to be in, but if we have an opportunity, why not get after it? Right. So back to what I was saying a little bit ago about this, protecting or lining up, CeeDee Lamb like a gunner. And what I had watched out of the Bills and the 49ers is, they both used 5 and 6 DB sets quite a bit. And they utilized it to not only get pressure, but to lock up the receivers completely. And once the receivers were locked up and they were one-dimensional, the Cowboys couldn't really run either. Now they had some plays, some broken plays. They had some plays over 10 yards. It's not like they were totally inept the entire game, but it's not the same old Cowboys that, we have seen in some of the bigger wins this season. So bringing in the 5 and 6 DB packages to, get the pressure on the receivers, limiting the ability for Lamb to have a game. I think that's going to be a big key to this game. The Bills played a lot of man too, and they played a lot of man, but they also had a lot of extra DBs in there over the top and underneath. So the 49ers, they used a lot of single high safety and overloaded one side to get pressure quite a bit with Bosa. The Lions would be wise to try to mimic both of these scenarios. And in what the Bills and the 49ers both did and did well, we will end up seeing some turnovers out of this. So I expect Kirby to have an active game. I really do. And I expect Iffy to have an active game. As long as AG continues to do what he's done the last 3 weeks, but call it a little bit, more efficiently and use some different looks and some schemes that will help disguise what we're doing as well. The most important thing is this. If the Lions are going to single up Lamb, that's a mistake. I feel the Lions need to jam the Lamb. I know it's all I can do with it. And put a safety over top. If he gets loose and beats the jam, at least you have a safety over top to help. But keeping the Lamb off of the timing routes will help push Dak to his second, third options much quicker. But he will also have to deal with the defensive front at that point. And maybe he just won't have enough time to get rid of the ball is the plan. So back to what the Bills did. And I kind of described it, but I'm going to describe it again. When CeeDee Lamb is out wide, they would bring down either a safety or a nickel, or whomever was covering Lamb. And then that safety or that nickel would drop down to the right or to the left. And they would literally, take him on like he was a gunner. And I haven't seen this type of defense used before. And I liked it. So if the Cowboys are in 11 personnel and they've got, one tight end, one running back, and 3 wides, and you have 6 DBs in, there's no reason why you can't double up at least Lamb this way. Now, you may not have your safety over top. He might have to be the one that's down, up on the line with Lamb. But that's where we're going to have to rely on a linebacker to be able to cover Ferguson if that happens to be Brian Branch. So, I like the matchup this weekend. I think that the Lions have some opportunity here. The fourth key is they have to win this turnover margin. I don't think I really need to explain this one. But I will say this. The Lions are currently -2 in turnover differential. We have given away 10 interceptions and fumbled the ball 11 times. It is not very often that you see a team that has more fumbles than interceptions. That's god awful. Now, in the past few weeks, we have taken away quite a few interceptions. And that's the only reason why this number isn't as bad as it once was. We now have 13 interceptions to 6 fumbles recovered, but we've given away 10 interceptions and 11 fumbles. The Dallas Cowboys on the other side of the coin there, they're +8. So when you compare the two, there is a +10 turnover differential. And that's not good. The Lions have got to do something to figure out a way to get their hands on a loose ball this weekend. Last and final key, and I kind of spoke to it earlier, is limiting the explosive plays. The Lions did not do a great job against the Vikings. They gave up 11 explosive plays over 20 plus yards, and that cannot happen against this Cowboys team. If you think that you're going to be able to give up that many explosive plays and still win this game, it's not happening. So I want to see the guys, someone's got to have their chest to Dak. All too often we see when our guys are in man, their backs are turned and they're running downfield with their backs turned. They're playing under and not over. And I can't stand it. To me, it looks like such poor technique. Somebody has to be looking at Dak. Somebody has to have their eyes on the quarterback. But not only that, someone has to be playing over top too. You're not going to get many interceptions or pass breakups, by playing underneath. And what it looks like is you're just getting burned the entire time. So I want to see the Lions make that change. It's been nice to see where Kirby, and if Ifeatu Melifonwu kind of have been playing that over position a little bit and, being a single or double high safety or two deep safety, whatever we're using, and coming up to make the play on the backside. So that's all for this video of the 5 keys for the Detroit Lions to take on the Cowboys this Saturday night. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you smash that like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you like this style of content and would like to hear more. We would love to have you guys in. So we'll talk to you all later. Go One Pride. Go Detroit Lions. Bye-bye for now.